You're joking?
Yeah, I don't know what's happened, really. I've lost interest.
Oh, well, it is like most things, like the preliminary rounds,
Always
that's
much more
when
exciting.
all the real freaks and no-hopers, you know. But sometimes I watch those sort of things and I sort of laugh and I think, oh dear, I shouldn't be laughing at him because he's not just rubbish, he's verging on the mentally ill. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes people that go along, you want to go, who told you to go along? What were you thinking? Right?
Well, it's the fact that there was no one to stop them going. That's what's even more terrifying.
Yeah, I know. And Simon Cowell's good.
He's great value.
He's
Yeah.
amazing. Foxy, I like Foxy now.
I know. I've warmed to.
He's come round,
Dr.
Fox. He's a lovely little shiny tree trunk.
Now, often I notice he's not always there week in, week in. Is that because he's off doing medical operations?
He's got his practice still.
He's got the practice. He's got to maintain that.
Yeah. you know, is on.
Isn't it the big ones tonight? I mean, when I say the big ones,
Capital Radio. He's still on Capital Radio.
Yeah.
That he's got to do. So you know,
isn't it some of the big names though? It's Darius Dinesh tonight.
It's Darius and the Fat Boy.
And the Fat Guy,
the big thing that makes you...
Oh, I noticed in the Sun today is saying, vote for me because of my musical talent, not because I'm huge and you feel sorry for me.
Yeah, well, that's good. I think that's right. But he has got a great...
Darius, I noticed, he shaved his beard off.
He's a new man.
He looks slightly laughable, though. He's got quite a weak chin.
He's having a laugh.
Well...
He's dissing Darius for
I'm
his
not
looks.
claiming to be a pop star.
Well...
Oh, can you feel the love in the room?
Yeah, let's have a little song. No, but I'm looking forward to it. My favourite all the way through has been the little fella with the stutter. I'd like Darius to get...
Yeah, I think it's almost certain he's going to win. I don't think there's any excitement
so. Or
there.
that Welsh girl who was very good.
Oh, yeah.
The one that made Pete Waterman cry.
Yeah,
that was great.
Yeah.
She was good though, wasn't she?
Yeah,
was good,
they're great. They're really good. But you know, it'd be nice to see Fatty get some
He's
recognition.
too I mean, he's just a weird shape though. It turns my stomach, and I'm one to talk.
Steady on.
No, I know.
It's just, you know,
He's just doing his job.
it's, you know, glandular.
Yeah.
It's not as greed. But you know, he's got a good voice, and why not?
Good luck to him.
We've had Demis Roussos in the charts.
Yeah.
Alison Moyet.
There's not been a fatty for a while, has there, who's been a big star? I mean, Moyet may well have been the last one.
Jerry Watts, she sorted herself out after becoming famous. She was pretty big, wasn't she?
Who?
Jerry Halliwell?
Yeah.
Yeah, she was
wasn't.
never a bloater. Have you seen this bloke off Pop Idols?
Yeah.
It's like he's got 3 Jerry Halliwell strapped to his waist and then wearing a big coat over the top.
To smuggle them in.
Yeah, exactly.
To a no Halliwell zone.
I reckon I tell you what he's going to do. I reckon he's going to take it off, and it's just a big fat outfit, and it was like to prove, you know, the prejudice of the world.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
Hey.
And how come that little fella with the stutter doesn't stutter when he's singing? Hold on.
I noticed that's cleaned up actually.
I bet
that's
she's
cleared
not
up, hasn't
even Welsh.
it? Exactly. And apparently Darius is not a knob.
Dandy Warhols on XFM 104.9. About 20 past 2. The Ricky Gervais Show.
With Steve Merchant.
Yeah, he's still here.
The Christmas ads have come on, I noticed. They're on now. And I noticed, I was watching telly last night, and do you think that the advertising executive for Cadbury's Roses chocolates just comes in once a year and they go, what you got this year? And he goes, what about some workmen and some old ladies singing thank you very much, thank you very, very much?
Yeah.
Just shot in a street somewhere. Yeah, that'd be fine. It worked last year.
Yeah, brilliant.
That's been going like since I can remember. I've never seen another advert for Cadbury's Roses except that.
Exactly. Well, there's certain things that conjure up Christmas, like you got your turkey and all that, and
Yeah.
you got your roses.
Yeah, Woolworths.
Woolworths.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got Woolworths.
Yeah. Oh dear.
Pizza.
Pizza, Woolworths. Drink driving. Oh dear. God, sorry, I forgot what I went in for.
What were we doing? We were
right.
doing something. Be careful. There's a lot of money involved here, Steve.
Oh, you can't say.
Don't stitch me up.
I was reading the paper this week that Charlotte Church,
Yeah.
you know, little kind of singing sensation, she's been slagging off the firemen who've been salvaging people and wreckage
she
and stuff.
hasn't been slagging them off.
Well,
Be
apparently,
careful.
but
What
I
did she
saw on the
actually
news.
say?
I saw on the news that she's apparently, and she claimed that she'd been misinterpreted.
Right.
But the Channel 5 News thought this was a big enough story to say that Charlotte Church had been saying that the September 11th tragedy had been blown out of proportion.
Right. That's different to slagging off the firemen.
No, but that's what they said. They said that she felt that they were being held as kind of heroes and they were just doing their job.
Right. Oh, well, that's a little bit stupid to say anyway. A little bit insensitive and yeah.
But it's sort of because it's like, did you read about?
Why do you care? Why does anyone care
But who's
what she
asked her?
thinks about September 11th
Yeah.
anyway? It's the same as those things like during a presidential election or when I'm elections. It's these things they preach. Billy Piper says, "I've always voted Labour."
I know.
Who's going to go? Oh, hold on. H from Steps. He's a Conservative. Hold on, what's going on?
Yeah.
I don't know if he is or not. I don't
know. Well, I know that,
you know, that was just an example. I
Faye
don't
and
know
Clever
what
sets are
either
both-
of them vote. To be honest, all right, let's not get into it.
Yeah. I think Faye and Claire from Steps are both BNP members. I remember reading that somewhere.
That's
But
so not true.
I
That
cannot
is
be
so
certain.
untrue. He takes
Cannot
that
be
back
certain.
now.
I cannot be certain.
Right.
I think
That
it was
is
misread.
definitely untrue.
I read it on the net, and it's often wrong on the net.
Right. Definitely, he's going to retract that now, aren't
Definitely, yeah. Well, I'm saying, it's almost certainly untrue. I read it on the net.
you? Oh, right.
Yeah, and those things are always untrue.
Okay. All right. He's dissed the net now.
Yeah.
You've
Oh my
dissed
God.
the net. I can't
you-
believe it.
did you
Let's
hear-
dig ourselves out of this hole now.
Well, Blue. Now, I definitely can quote this because I read it in the Sun.
Yeah.
Blue were being interviewed by Blue, the pop band Blue. All Rise. Have you bought that album yet, Rick? I imagine that would be on your
yeah,
Christmas
I
list.
like it. One for the money and the free ride. Yeah.
Anyway, Blue were being interviewed by the Sun for one of their kind of web chats by the lovable Dominic Mohan.
Yeah.
And for some reason they got around to September 11th, and one of the members of Blue said, again, church-like,
Yeah.
I think it's been blown out of all proportion. What about all the whales and elephants that are dying every day?
And the other band were going, shut up.
Yeah,
shut up.
it was brilliant. They gave a
But they-
transcript of it going, shut up.
They had to do a retraction. He said, sorry, I didn't know. Oh,
Yeah, that was it. He said, obviously I'm very passionate about whales and elephants, and perhaps a bit misplaced. All the proceeds that I'll receive from our next single, I'm going to give to the September 11th Foundation.
Yeah, and then he went, can I give some to the whales? No, you've done it again.
You've done it again.
Don't worry about the whales.
But this is what I mean. It's why are people asking the members of Blue,
Yeah,
or Atomic Kitten, what
Yeah.
they think about September the 11th?
I know.
They should just be working in a chippy, those people. They're lucky to be on the telly. The Atomic Kitten girls, really, I mean, do they not look like they should be in a chip shop? Or just hanging around outside an offie drinking
They
diamond white
will
cider?
be soon. They will be soon.
Oh.
Don't worry. Although Hearsay's new single, I dissed Hearsay before, but they've come out with a little poppy thing. I think.
Can I
they do
surprise
all
you,
right.
Rick? I
Go
prefer
on.
Liberty.
I prefer Liberty as well.
Yeah, a little bit funky, a little bit down with the kids.
Yeah. Anyway, XFM 104.9.
Once again, our opinions on current pop bands. If you'd like to have your...
Hold on, though.
Go on, shoot.
Isn't it about time for a hip hop track?
Have we got it? Can you dig it up?
Song for the Lovers would be good.
Song for Lovers, let's have that.
I'll do that now. The song for the Now, this is a beautiful song. It's by Simon and Garfunkel. It's only 1 minute 49 long. It's called April Come She Will. You know what I mean? But I'm worried. Obviously, the title's ironic. We're taking the mickey out of those things, but quite serious about all the songs we play.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm worried about if people perceive it a bit like Simon Bates' R Tune
Yes,
album or
yeah.
something.
Steve Wright's Sunday Love Songs.
Yeah. But
Beautiful
lovely.
song.
Yeah.
When you think that you listen to like some dance track, you buy it and it's like 5 minutes long, the same thing, repetitive beats,
Yeah.
and then you hear that 1.5 minutes, classic.
Do you know what I mean?
Hey, have I made my point, Rick?
I
I've
think
bloody
so.
have.
yeah. Oh, the youngsters
Yeah.
today.
If anyone knows what my point was there, please give us a
yeah,
call.
phone in, and he's made it well.
Yeah. Carl, have you got lined up for us?
Some REM.
I don't
Oh,
know
let's
about
play
that.
the-
Oh,
Strokes on XFM 104.9. It's the Ricky Gervais Show with me, Steve Merchant,
Cheers.
Carl Pilkington.
the K-Man.
Well, it's time for the. Well, I think people wait for this now. I never knew really since I was doing the show that I actually had a bit of a knack for film reviews.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because
I
you know,
discovered
try and
talent. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I'll probably be asked soon by Brian Norman or Jonathan Ross to do something on that sort of thing, or maybe my own film. So I don't know, TV or.
The
anyway.
clock's ticking. It's only a matter of time.
Yeah. Okay. This week I've chosen.
Well, wait a minute. Let's play the jingle.
Okay. The film review and that.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Ricky Gervais.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Here we go. This week I've chosen My Left Foot.
Right.
Okay. Now, My Left Foot is a film about a bloke called Daniel Day-Lewis who's all mental except for his left foot, right? And he has arguments. I can't remember. He has arguments with his dad. So I wasn't watching it properly, but even though he's mental apart from the foot, he does stuff with the foot that we're not, could do all over, and he uses that to his best. I think he might write a book or something off paint. And the moral of this story is, even if you've only got a foot that works, you can still win prizes because it won the Oscar.
Okay. Am I right in saying that you're bringing a book out of these collected, maybe for the Christmas market?
I think I might.
Yeah. I see there's obvious
great
market
films
there.
reviewed, sort of. What with it's a different outlook on it, isn't it?
A different approach.
I don't just sort of like stray.
Well, I'll tell you what. It's an approach that doesn't really use grammar, which you don't see that often in film reviews. But no, once again, what would you give it out of 10?
I didn't really concentrate. I can't remember a lot about it, but it won an Oscar. So I think it won an Oscar or something. So 9.
Okay, jolly good. That was My Left Foot, which is probably available on sell-through video, maybe in a bargain bin. $5.99, probably on TV this Christmas. That's to be confirmed.
Eels, fresh feeding on XFM 104. It's going well, isn't it?
I'm enjoying it. Yeah.
20 minutes to go. I think more of an up show. We've made some great hits and great songs today, haven't we? We've had some great features. A new feature. That film sounds good.
Looking forward to
that. That'll run
week.
And run.
Yep.
Song for if there's any record companies out there that want to put out a compilation of my songs for lovers, yeah. That's good. Anyone who wants me to do a film, any film you want,
reviewed.
I would finish a sentence.
Yeah, no, ideally, because it was anyone who wants me to do a film. Well, of course, being a top actor, you'd have probably appeared in a film.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. And that.
Jolly good. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you're running out of steam. I can tell.
You're running out.
Yeah.
Go on.
Carl, have you seen it yet? I know you probably haven't, Rick. Cliff Richard's video for his new single.
Yep.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Oh, it's bad, isn't it?
I saw it on Lorraine Kelly in the morning, Sky One, great show, and it's amazing. He's done a version of Somewhere Over the Rainbow, but he's combined that.
No.
He's combined that with what's it? It's Oh What a Wonderful World.
I wasn't really listening. I was looking at the pictures and I couldn't believe
it's What a Wonderful World, and combined with Somewhere Over the Rainbow.
So he's done
two classic songs, two songs that have been done definitively by artists in the past. He's tried to combine them with a kind of Yamaha keyboard sound in the background.
What was his last year's one? It was
Millennium
Lord's Prayer with Over the Old Lang Syne.
He's just obsessed with combining two songs. Like, they're not good enough as they are. People will get bored. We better combine them.
Yeah.
It's like a mega mix, like a Cliff mega mix. And you're right, the video is unbelievable. It's him flying through. It's all kind of sort of 2D animation, kind of almost sort of a collage of buildings and high-rise flats and that. Kids see him floating by. Yeah. They wave, they point to each other. They can't believe they're like, there goes Sir Cliff.
They're going, who's that?
Exactly.
He was around in the 50s.
And he's got a little one-dimensional Cliff with a kind of angelic glow flying through the sky, just bringing happiness to people as he sings.
Well, he does.
His real face kind of every so often kind of appearing and kind
wonder
of
where his real face is.
And it's one of the worst songs and one of the worst videos I've ever seen. I mean, I know people slag off Cliff and it's an easy target, but he actually deserves it because he's shameful.
Yeah.
He's embarrassing.
So, yeah.
He's embarrassing.
I mean,
and he's arrogant.
Well, everything's a disguised boast. I mean, I liked Devil Woman. I liked Miss Unites. I liked Wired for Sound, and I like tall speakers and small speakers. I like all sizes of speakers. You know that. You'll vouch for me on that. Yeah. And he sang about it, which is good. And I'm often Wired for Sound, right? Carrie doesn't live here anymore. Where's she gone? She's just another message on a payphone wall. It's a story. But lately, I haven't had a lot of time for him.
Awful.
I remember he was on something on one chat show, and I think it was Des or Michael Asper or something, and I said, so you've had something? He said, yeah. He said, well, everyone knows that Elvis sold more records after his death than when he was alive. Little dig there against Elvis. He goes, well, I've just overtaken his record for sales in the UK. Right, so he sets up that Elvis is only selling because he's dead.
Yeah.
And anyway, I've still beaten him in the UK. And I just think, yeah. And where'd you get the quiff from and the way to sing? Where'd you get that from, Cliff? Where did you think of that?
But listen, those people, he's just desperate for the credibility that he's never going to have.
I like it when he went round last year going, they're not playing my record, they're not playing my record, they're not playing. Oh, go on, play it. Number one.
Yeah.
Fooled you.
It was number one, the Millennium Prayer.
I know. Yeah. Well, it was. It was the Millennium, wasn't it?
It was, but I don't know who's buying it. I mean, I know you seem to claim it's some kind of like 60-year-old women, but they're not.
Yeah,
Are they really a commercial force now?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
Carl seems to know that.
Well, like when you're born, you're a little baby, wrinkly and stuff. When you get older, you sort of morph into a baby again, and you go through the same phases. So when you're young, you buy singles. You get old, you got nothing to do all day. You got all your pension money. What will I buy? Cliff Richard's on the telly. Here's my video. Buy me song.
You see, that started off as quite a sensible point because I actually think they do it. But what was all that alien stuff about when you're born, you go wrinkly and you go wrinkly again? So sometimes you mix like normal things that human beings say with I don't know what.
Well, look, when you're a baby, you've got a little bald head, no teeth. You get old. What happens?
Are you a philosopher? Are you an official philosopher? Because, I mean, it sounds like it. Oh, Carl, play a record. You're a gem. You're a diamond.
XFM 104.9. Good to hear the Happy Mondays again. We're nearly through.
We are indeed.
We've had a little bit of chat. We've had a few laughs. We've had a few tears.
We have indeed.
We've introduced a new feature.
Looking forward to that next week.
Yeah, so soon it's just going to be wall-to-wall features, isn't it? It's going to be,
Well, I had an idea for a feature which you didn't seem to like, which
What?
was something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue.
Well, explain it. And
Something old, an old song. Something
Yeah.
new, a new song.
Yeah.
Something borrowed, a cover version.
Yeah.
And something blue, just a melancholy and beautiful song.
Right, okay, but does it have to be all four, or can it be anyone?
No, it's all four. You play that over the course of the show. Or maybe just have four songs in a row, and that's that section.
So like a feature would be like this is either an old song or like a new song.
Yeah.
That's good. I think we've done that a few times.
No, it's not. It's
We've
not
covered
that.
that.
Well, what's the difference? I'm playing a song from a film. Just because you give it a title, it's just a song from a film. You could play that anyway, couldn't you?
Brilliant.
It's all
You've
nonsense.
seen, cheers, Carl.
What was that,
Brilliant. Yeah, my ideas are good, aren't they?
Mm.
Because they're not only sort of accessible, but there's a little bit of depth there.
I think it's fair enough to let him have his little feature at the end of the show, though. Just, you know what I mean? Keep him happy. This song for the
Cool.
lovers. Coming up in a bit.
Excellent. Well, but that's not till after song 2 by Blur.
I remember the days when Carl didn't even want to be on the air. I remember the days when he was told by the establishment that he wasn't allowed to talk on the air. And now it's like as far as he's concerned, he's a third member of the team.
He's protected by
Yeah.
me.
Right?
Yeah.
Cheers.
Song 2 by Blur. We're running out of time. It's 5-2. Just got time for Steve's song for the ladies.
Wedding present, Rick, from the album Saturnali, I think it's pronounced like that, and it's track 3, Dream World, a song
Looking forward
for the
to it.
ladies.
Goodbye.
I don't know how many times I've tried to warn you, how many times I've heard you laugh and say, underneath it all, he's okay. Yeah, and how many times have you rang and sworn you'd given him one last chance and he'd let you down? But then he'd call and you'd go back round. You know I still care because you only have to phone me and I'll be over there. just can't go on pretending. You 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 just can't go on pretending. I'm on my way right over there to lick your wounds. You know I'll always be here for you. You say you feel left out. I know exactly how to cure you. You know you make me wanna shout. Oh, so tell me what you do. You say you feel left out, but you are living in a dream world.
On air, 104.9. Online, xfm.co.uk.
This is XFM.
Thinking sideways.
I don't understand.
Does not compute.
You never know.
Insufficient data to formulate a reply.
What?
Stories of things we simply don't know the answer to.
Well, hi there, everybody, and welcome back to Thinking Sideways, the podcast. Welcome back for everybody who's been with us before. Hi there, and welcome for the first time for anybody that hasn't.
Who hasn't? I think everybody in the world listens to us now. Not quite.
Not exactly. Well, today we're gonna go into a subject that I kind of feel like maybe I stole out from under Devin, because Devin likes to do the stories about weird noises.
Yeah, you did.
And I sort of...
I've been like working on that megalithic episode that may or may not happen, and I just got distracted, and suddenly I was like, what are we doing this week? And it was like, oh, Skyquakes? Ah, Steve.
Yep.
Yeah, she tried to stab him, but
Yeah.
I pulled her off of him.
The drama of the show.
Yeah, it's the
not.
behind
You
the
don't need to
scenes
let it
kind of
bleed
stuff.
over.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about skyquakes. Skyquakes are a weird phenomena. Depending on where you are in the States, in the continental United States, or maybe in other countries, you'll hear them named a number of different things. You'll hear them called the guns of Seneca, the Moodist noises, fog guns, mistopoofers, the Barisal guns. These things have a lot of names.
They have regional names.
Very regional.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. But they're all over. But, you know, that kind of gives you an idea that what we're talking about isn't focused in any one region. This is a global phenomenon.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been going on for a long time.
It has been going on for quite a long
Like
time.
hundreds of years?
Hundreds of years.
Okay.
Yes. We have accounts from a long time ago, which we'll actually get to here briefly.
Oh, great.
So let's do this. So just to kind of give kind of the basic rundown of skyquakes. Typically, they're reported in coastal areas, and that can be, you know, on the coast of the ocean or a large lake or occasionally large rivers like the Danube or the Mississippi, things like that. Or the Ganges was the other one that I was thinking of. Usually what happens, the sky is clear. If there are clouds, they're not very big, and specifically, they're not thunder clouds.
They're like white poofy clouds.
Yes, they're just nice white poofy clouds against the blue sky. Out of nowhere, there will be an extremely loud boom, and these noises are sometimes described as sounding like a cannon going off. And, you know, it's not always just one. Sometimes there can be several in a row one after the other. So it's not as if there's one event causing a single boom. We're talking in multiples.
Yeah, the one that I've heard, the only one that I've actually heard a recording of, it sounds like a big boom followed by three somewhat smaller booms, and almost like a machine gun kind of thing.
Kinda.
There's kind of a rhythm there.
Yeah, well, and as Devin was briefly alluding to, they've been around for a long time. We've known about them. When the European settlers came to the northeast of the United States, the Iroquois evidently told them, the Indians of the area, told them that they had heard the noises before, and they explained it as the Great Spirit continuing his work on shaping the earth. Because evidently it was a work in progress.
Well, it actually kind of is.
It kind of is.
It's still changing. Yeah.
So, I could try and describe these a lot, but what I figured was the best thing to do was to take one of the recordings that I found online.
Oh, yeah.
And play that for everybody so that you can kind of get an idea of what this sounds like. Now, the clip that we're gonna put in here, there are car alarms and there are dogs barking in the background, and I'm going to try and ease that out as much as possible, but it will be very obvious when the skyquake happens, and it is extremely loud.
Yeah.
So just be prepared for that. There you go. Very obvious.
It does sound like cannons.
It really, it does.
And it does sound like car alarms.
It does. It sounds like artillery or thunder or a cannon or something. But
it does sound like artillery to me.
Yeah, it's really weird.
I have a theory. But I'm going to wait till later.
Until we get into the theory section?
Yeah.
Because that's where we're at.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because literally
there?
listening to the skyquake, that gives you a good idea of what it is. And there are so many places that they've happened that it's not worth going into every one. It's much simpler just to kind of get into what the theories are of what is causing these.
Great.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to tell you what my theory is.
Have at it.
It's like my theory is a gigantic alien starship in the atmosphere, and they teleport out. Basically, they go into warp or whatever, or they just vanish from the spot that they were in, which is immediately filled by air rushing in, creating a big kaboom. Yeah. So that's one theory.
Okay. Well, Joe led us off with the most fantastical theory.
Yeah.
No, he didn't. Because actually, the first theory is pretty fantastical.
The EMP theory?
Yeah. This first theory says that these are government experiments with EMPs that are causing this noise.
Okay, and now just quickly, how do they explain the fact that it's been going on for hundreds of years?
They don't.
That's kind of the
they
hitch
don't.
in that theory,
That's an issue with the theory.
Well, and we can just go ahead and say that if the government has something going on like this, they would probably propagate stories of it happening for a long time.
Possibly,
right,
or maybe they
spread that.
Or maybe they rip the space-time continuum and the noises are reflected back in time. That's just as crazy.
Or they might have teleported back in time to plant stories like this, or make sounds like
there
this.
you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, here's the main thing that drives this EMP government conspiracy theory, because this really is kind of a conspiracy theory. It's all based around an event that is referred to as the Bell Island boom.
Okay, now for clarity, by EMP, you're talking about electromagnetic pulse,
yes,
correct?
Electromagnetic pulse. That is absolutely correct. Bell Island is located on the southeastern tip of Newfoundland.
Canada?
Yeah, it's
right, not New Jersey.
No, it's not New Jersey.
Okay.
No,
there's Newfoundland. Okay.
No,
okay,
it is
to be
not
clear,
New Jersey.
Canada. Got it.
Okay, no, Newfoundland it's in Canada. It's in the Atlantic. It's kind of like one of their farthest islands to the east. It's and it's not a small place, but what happens is April 2nd, 1978. There's a huge booming, or some people, depending on the source, describe it as the sound of an explosion And according to the reports, there's a lot of damage to the houses in the area, and I'm guessing this is from a concussive blast.
So probably by damage, they mean broken windows.
Yeah, broken windows, and evidently the power lines in the area were fried out, melted. You see it described as vaporized in a couple of the things. Now, the thing is, unlike most of the booms that we're going to talk about, there was something physical left behind, and that was holes in the ground. There were 2 holes left in the ground, and they were, let's see here, they were 3 feet across and 2 feet deep.
Wow.
Which doesn't really match up with a lot of the stuff that we get from these skyquakes.
So this
they
could be
don't,
an outlier.
Yeah, I think it is. But there's a lot of fantastical stuff that goes on with the story of Bell Island, but we're going to leave most of that behind.
Okay.
Because what we want to do is we want to focus on this electromagnetic pulse theory part.
Okay.
According to the theory that this is some government body that's responsible for this, and a lot of stuff will point to, well, it was the Americans or it was the Russians. You've got to kind of take a look at what happened at the time with this and why they think it's an electromagnetic pulse. One of the things is that with an EMP, there's no radiation. Typically, there's no touchdown point, like these holes in the ground.
But by radiation, you mean there's no...
like atomic radiation. You just set off an A-bomb.
There's no really high-frequency radiation.
Yes, there's no fallout.
EMP works through radiation.
Yes, but you know what I'm saying. It's like,
about
it's not
radioactive,
Hiroshima.
Yeah, the kind of stuff that gets into your blood and kills you.
Correct,
Okay,
yeah, that's where I'm getting at.
Okay.
And so, of course, all the electronics is fried and hosed, and you can't use your iPhone. Well, people say that this must have been an experiment by a government body, and one of the and again, this is a government body, whether they did it intentionally or not. So nobody says whether they were nefariously targeting Bell Island or just accidentally touched down there. What adds a ton of fuel to the fire, though, is the fact that 2 scientists from the Los Alamos National Laboratory came to Bell Island to investigate. Now, you might
recognize names.
I didn't write down their names, and that's my bad. But you might recognize the name Los Alamos National Laboratory because they're the ones who were involved in the development of the first A-bomb.
Yeah.
So people point to that as, oh, well, those guys at that terrible place that did this must have done that.
Yeah, maybe.
20-some years later.
Working on the next kind of big leap in warfare. Maybe. I mean...
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. I mean, the whole EMP effect of atomic and nuclear weapons was known back in those days. As far as building a really teeny little nuke that was just tuned so that it would just have more than just emit radiation, more so than explosive force and all that. Like maybe they were working on something like that at the time. I don't know.
And I've also seen in some stuff that I've read, and this was more fictional accountings. There is the fact that you can detonate a nuke several miles up, and the radiation won't hurt people like it would when it detonates on the ground, but the electromagnetic pulse will still affect electronics.
Yeah.
So theoretically, there's the idea that they were testing something high in the atmosphere, and something fell, or there's people who say it's some kind of lightning. Because in the reports of Bell Island, they talk about some giant, bright bolt that was quote unquote seen from space. I've never seen that picture, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I think it's a fair theory to think that if they were going to test something like this, right, they would probably be testing it over open water instead of over land.
That makes total sense.
They accidentally detonated it
too close
to land and too close down low. So it actually did fry a bunch of stuff. It landed with some debris. I guess I can kind of get behind. I mean, obviously, like it's not my favorite, but like I also can talk my way into this. So.
I can talk my way out of this way faster than I can talk myself into.
Fair. The problem with this is an explanation for skyquakes is it's only one incident.
And it's very new.
Yeah, and
right?
so...
Yes.
But I am willing to say that it could be a good explanation for Bell Island specifically.
Maybe.
I could see some credence there. Let's move to the next theory, though. We've got meteors.
Yeah.
Huh.
This one's actually really pretty straightforward, and the idea is that people say that what they're hearing is the sound of the sonic boom caused by a meteor entering the atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it turns out that evidently, typically, a meteor when it hits the atmosphere and it starts to burn up, this happens 100 kilometers or about 60 miles above the Earth's surface. Because sound travels slower than light, people might see a shooting star, and then minutes later hear the boom, and so they wouldn't recognize it. And if it's at daytime, they're not going to notice this bright spot in the sky. That kind of makes sense. Evidently, it takes about, from that distance up, it takes about 5 minutes for sound to reach from 60 miles up to the surface, down to the surface of the Earth. So there's some scientific credence to that.
It doesn't explain why it's only coastal regions, though.
Exactly.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. And this occurrence of meteors making noise, this is what is evidently referred to as electrophonic meteors.
Okay.
In other words, a meteor that is heard.
Yeah, well, like the one that exploded over Russia a year or two ago.
Yeah.
I mean, they come in and they basically heat up and then explode and disintegrate and create a huge boom.
Well, and that's the issue, is that if it was meteors that were hitting and exploding, even if they're not big ones, you would think that we would find some kind of debris on a more regular basis than we do.
Unless they're hitting the water.
That's
or
true.
burning up.
But yeah, the thing about it
Exploding
is
in the atmosphere, and then it's just lots of little particles.
yeah, but the thing about it is that large meteors that explode like that and make a big noise, they're kind of rare.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
And also, like, we have a lot of scientists. I'm pretty sure that somebody would be like, oh, hey, because they track it. When things, like, hit the atmosphere, they track that stuff. So, like, it would be pretty unreasonable to think that, like, if this is such a widespread phenomenon, that somebody wasn't like, oh, you know what I'll do is I'll look at all of the, like, pretty large meteors that are capable of making the sound and see if they, like, correlate or not, because that would have happened.
Yeah. Now, the one thing that I do think about that, the issue that we had as well, this happens kind of around coastal areas. There's one thing that you do have to remember, which is the air above the ocean tends to be cooler than the air above land. So it could be that they're hitting that cold air front, and because they're so hot, they're hitting that blast of cold air, and that might be causing actually shatter and explode rather than just to continue to burn up as they're going through warmer air. Does that make sense?
No.
Would it be almost like hitting a wall of
I mean,
ice cold
I'm
air?
hearing what you're saying, but I don't think the science follows.
Yeah.
Okay. No, this is just, again, I was like, oh, well, it is colder air. That could be an explanation.
Yeah.
But
I don't think so.
No.
I think that, no.
Next we have, and this one I really find funny.
Because you're a boy.
Yeah, I do. Is it's gas venting or burping.
Farts. Earth farts.
It's earth farts.
Earth farts,
Exactly.
yes.
Which is why you think it's hilarious.
I am 12 years old.
Yeah, wow.
Again, this does actually kind of explain possibly why this is in coastal areas.
Yeah.
What it is the idea is that methane gas is trapped underneath a lake or underneath the ocean, and this is caused from the breakdown of organic materials, whether they be plants or animals, and then at some point they seep upward and they come up in a great explosion out of the water.
But why would they explode versus just like bubbling up and leaking into the atmosphere?
Like a fart.
Yeah, that's somebody's got to be there to light
Somebody's got to be there with a bic.
Yeah. That's the problem, is that if it was gas, I mean, that would be a huge amount of gas to, let's ignore the explosion for a second.
Sure.
That would be a huge amount of gas to cause such a giant bubble that it makes that concussive blast as it just breaks the surface of the water, and then the water claps back into place.
Yeah, you'd be seeing a lot more dead aquatic life, probably.
Okay, and if it is an explosion, okay, what's causing that explosion, and why haven't there been reports of flames of any kind around the skyquake issues?
Yeah, and the thing about it is like when methane or oil or whatever leaks up from the ocean bottom or wherever, it just sort of seeps. It doesn't usually come up in
No, it doesn't come out in one gigantic outflowing.
No.
I'm trying really hard to not make all the fart jokes.
The next theory is actually really closely related to the methane gas, which this actually is a theory that there's a rapid, just oxygen, but a rapid air release from the collapse of underwater caves. And again, this one kind of says, well, it's the noise from the cave collapsing and the air rushing out and all the debris underwater falling. But I personally, that's a lot of caves collapsing underwater if that were the case.
Yeah, the thing about it is caves tend to be pretty stable. They've been there for millions of years.
Yeah, eons.
Yeah, I know. That's why I feel I used to do a little caving. And if I'm in a natural limestone cave, I feel far safer than I would feel like if I were in a tunnel, like the highway tunnel, for example.
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
In an earthquake or something like that. Yeah, because I mean, this thing has been through all kinds of earthquakes.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
And so
also, underwater caves typically don't have
Air.
that much air.
Usually they're filled with water.
Usually, I mean, sometimes they have like a little bit of like air at the top or whatever, but.
And so
no.
And if it collapses, the air doesn't all get out at once. It collapses, a lot of debris comes down, and the air sort of fizzles out between all the debris.
Yeah.
It's like soda.
So I think the
perfect description.
Carbonation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It would sound like soda. So I think cave collapsing is a bad thing. Yeah.
Yep.
Alka-Seltzer.
The next
Plop, plop, fizz, fizz.
Yeah.
The next one that we have here, I kind of like this one.
This is plausible.
And this is that these sounds are caused by earthquakes.
Sure.
And there's a bit of science that we need to go into to help flesh this out.
I'm seeing words like S wave and P wave, and
I actually abbreviated a bunch of big sciencey words. Okay. Earthquakes cause seismic waves, which are low frequency energy waves that travel through the surface of the earth.
Sure.
Now, seismologists, those are guys who study earthquakes.
They study sizes, don't they?
No. They measure the seismic waves. Use that twice in one sentence. And they, that's how they determine how strong an earthquake is. So that's when you hear the Richter scale, is what we hear a lot to determine or to describe the strength of an earthquake. Okay, and most people are probably pretty familiar with that description. Here's where it gets a little trickier: is that the seismic waves are composed of actually two different kinds of waves. We've got a P wave and an S wave. And the P wave typically will be described as, the name is primary wave, and S wave is secondary wave. The P wave is faster, so it also is a compressional wave. Now, what that means is that it compresses and expands material in the same direction that it's moving. So if you think of a slinky that's laying on the floor sideways and you shook it, how it travels back and forth horizontally.
Yeah, so the P wave is the one that shakes your house from side to side and causes it to fall off its foundation.
Somewhat, yes.
Correct, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, somewhat, yes. And then we've got the S wave, and that's the slower of the two. So it's the one that shows up second because they don't always show up at the same time. That's why you can have a difference in an earthquake can hit in stages.
And aftershocks.
Aftershocks, yeah. And the S wave is responsible for actually shaking the ground up and down as well as side to side in the opposite direction of the P wave. So if the P wave is going directly in front of you, the S wave will make the ground heave up and down and left and right of where you're viewing.
I see. Yeah, it's I think the P waves are what they measure often for like the pre-shocks. Because you can
sense them ahead of time because that's the one that's easier. You can hear it coming.
Yeah.
Well, that's actually a perfect segue because it turns out the P wave is the one that is making and carrying a lot of the sound that is heard when earthquakes happen. So the theory goes that really low magnitude earthquakes, so we're talking on the Richter scale anywhere between 1.0 to 3.0. So these are very small, you can't really feel them, and especially if they're really deep, by the time the wave reaches the surface of the Earth, its shaking power is gone for the most part. But the sound is still traveling with it, and so that sound is